Hello students, and welcome back to my channel once again. I hope all of you are doing really brilliant in your life, and I also hope that you are getting some kind of benefit from my videos if you have been watching them regularly. Anyway, in today's video I'm going to discuss with you the poem A Thing of Beauty written by John Keats, which is very much the part of class 12 syllabus and is included in the book Flamingo, which I'll be using as a source of reference for today's video. So if you go through the very basic details about the background of the poem, which is of course important for you to understand, then you would know that John Keats was a very prominent and a famous, but he became famous after his death. But he was indeed a very prominent second generation romantic poet. Now, if you read somewhat in depth about his life, you would know that he had a very short life and he died quite young, and he suffered through an illness also. So it was only that his poetic genius came into foreground after his death. Right, in this particular poem, Endymion. Now, A Thing of Beauty is basically an extract from his epic poem called Endymion, which got published in 1818. Now, this particular poem is about the Greek legend of a shepherd named Endymion, who had, in his vision, met moon goddess Cynthia. So he immediately falls in love with her because she's so beautiful and her beauty is like enchanting completely. So it enchanted the shepherd, and now he was very much eager to meet his love. But you can imagine it's a love between a mortal and an immortal. So, but even then, Endymion, tries to transcend over his human limits and tries to meet Moon Goddess. So, all this, or complete this epic poem is actually about his experiences. It's a narrative about his experiences of how he decides to move from earth towards moon goddess and how he is able to accomplish his love, whether he is or not. That for that you of course need to go through some kind of research or you have to read the poem, but it is definitely about his experiences, about the difficulties he's faced through, about the encounters that he got through. And when he moves from earth towards moon goddess, then he moves through various kinds of forest, he moves even under the sea just to meet his lady love. So this is what the poem is about, and the book Endymion is basically divided into four books. The whole epic poem is divided into four books, and each book is approximately 1,000 lines long. So the poem that you have is very much the beginning of the first book itself, and it begins with, of course, the very famous line, "A thing of beauty is joy forever." I'm sure you would have read these lines somewhere even before you would have read this poem. So here he deals with the idea of beauty, he deals with the idea of uh, human limits. It's also about the purpose of beauty in our life. It's also about the role that beauty plays in our life, and it is basically about Keats' idea of beauty, right, which sets a kind of background for the coming encounters that he is going to have, and it's also set the background for the poem, right? So in this particular poem here, these are just 24 lines, I believe. Just read it to find out if these are 24 lines. So here, of course, as I told you, in a very most in his most Keatsian style, I would say, he has very confidently come up with right in the beginning of the poem itself, he has come up with an answer about what beauty is, right? So let us just begin with the analysis of the poem. Whatever I'm going to say is going to be my own personal interpretation of the poem. You're free to interpret poem in your own way, but you of course need to take care of the contextual part of the poem. Right, so here he begins like, I'll keep on reading few lines and then try to analyze it and then move on further in the poem. Let us first begin with the first 4 or 5 lines. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but will keep a bar quiet for us and a sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. Right? So, as I told you, it is only after reading the poem one feels that Keats probably would have been pondering about what is beauty before writing the poem. And then he has found out the answer, because he gives the answer to you about what his concept of beauty is right in the beginning of the poem. And he says that a thing of beauty is something that emanates joys, and it is something that, the joy that comes out of it is completely eternal. It is never temporary, it is permanent. Okay, so he talks about, first of all, important point is he talks about the permanent nature of the beauty, that how beauty does not have any temporariness in it, right? And it, in fact, with the passage of time, the beautiful things will become more beautiful, and it will never recede into the state of oblivion, or recede into the state of unknown. It is never going to fade away, it is never going to go away anywhere. In fact, with the as the time would improve upon, the beauty will also improve, right? And it is like, now he it gives you his concept of beauty, and then he wants you to understand it, because he keeps on giving you examples, and he keeps on giving you events and things like that, or are the images which will help you when you will try to frame those images in your mind. You will try to understand or grasp his idea of beauty, because then he says, it but will keep a bar quite for us, and a sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing, right? It's like, cool shade. So for example, if you've been walking for a long distance, you're feeling really tired, and then you sit under a tree, the cool shade of the tree under which you're sitting is one of the most promising and the most beautiful thing that you would ever feel. So you need to kind of keep imagining these things in your head as you're reading the poem, because then it will help you to imagine what probably Keats was imagining, and what does he want you as a reader to imagine. It will of course improve your imaginative faculty, but with the use of your imaginative faculty, you have to start feeling the poem, like what he is telling you. He's not at all talking about the physical aspect of the beauty. This is something which is important, because when he talks about beauty as a concept, he talks about the abstractness of the beauty. It also talks about something which is there but not visible to the naked eyes, and you have to feel it. So beauty is something that will give you joy. Now joy is not something that can be seen or touched, but it can only be felt, right? So it's like its loveliness will increase with the passage of time, its beauty, the nature of it will increase with the passage of time. It is never going to fade away. And it is, then he says, like one feeling the kind of joy sitting under the cool shade of a tree. And it is also like a sleep, good sleep, a healthy sleep, and a sleep which is just full of sweet dreams, not of any horrible ideas. It is the most peaceful sleep that you've ever had. So just try sleeping after having a big tired day. When you're tired, really, really tired, the sleep that you experience after that is the most beautiful and the blissful sleep, right? So there he says it's like enjoying a beautiful sleep with full of sweet dreams, and good health is of course important, and of course it's like quiet breathing. So one interesting thing that I feel in this poem is that Keats is picking up very very immediate things of human life, which we as human beings take for granted. For instance, the till moment we enjoy our health, we never pay attention to the health. It's like, your body has been very supportive of you in providing you a very comfortable life. But the minute any organ of your body stops working or starts dysfunctioning, at that time you understand the reality, that how hard actually your body has been trying just to keep you alive. And not just to keep you alive, but to keep you alive blissfully, right? So good health is definitely a blessing, and a good sleep is also a blessing, along with quiet breathing. If you're able to breathe quietly without any difficulties, without having a idea of danger, whether you will be able to breathe the next moment or not, if that idea doesn't cross your mind and you're able to quietly breathe, which means if you are at peace, then that is beautiful, right? Now you can imagine all these things. Now, this has got nothing to do with a very popular idea of beauty, where we kind of equate beauty with just in its physical sense. So we have very strong set standards of beauty, like the face of a particular person should be like this, this is how the body should be like, this is how the hairs should be like. Of course these all notions are culturally designed, but at the same time we have certain ideas, and they are most of the times they are like physical in nature, right? So here he's challenging these ideas, and he's saying that you need to think beyond it, that beauty is definitely much more than that, and it does not only appeal to your eyes, but it appeals to other senses of your body also. Like you feel good, and you know that it is not temporary, it is something which is permanent, right? Let's move on. Therefore, on every morrow are we readying a flowery pen to bind us to earth, spite of despondence, of the inhuman dearth, of noble natures, of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and overdarkening ways made for our searching. Yes, in spite of all, some shapes of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits. Now, I have read approximately 7 to 8 lines. But what do they basically mean? In these next coming lines, he talks about, that we as human beings are bonded with this planet, Earth, where we live. And we are bonded with this planet with this, it is as if there is, imagine the image that has been created. Now you have to start imagining about how you feel bonded to the earth. It is as if there is a flowery band around your hand. Okay, flowery band, a band of flowers made up of flowers, okay, real flowers, which is bound around your hand. And now this, the another part, or the another end of the band is touching with the earth, so it is something that is keeping you in contact with earth. So what does this image would mean? It will mean that, there is this constant search within us for happiness, for beauty, that actually keeps our existence more meaningful. Now when I'm talking about making your existence meaningful, it eventually means that there is this a primitive question in almost all of the human, in fact all human beings, that where is it that we have come from, and why do we exist on this planet? So there is a tendency in human beings to keep on finding out the meaning of their existence and the purpose of their existence. So he does not actually puts forward this question as to who we are and why are we here, but he definitely answers it, and he says that we are here, or we have meaning in our in our existence, because we have a reason to find beauty around the things, in the things which are around us. So beauty is, then you understand that it is not just about the beautiful things, like something that appeals to our eyes, but it has got a meaning much more beyond to that. And he says beauty is also there which help you to get over the gloominess of your life. For instance, just look at these lines. He says, a flowery band to bind us to the earth, spite of despondence, of inhuman dearth, of noble natures. So it is not as if we are only living amidst the beautiful things, but we also have variety of negativities around us, because they are inhuman in nature. Inhuman is something which is contrary to human values. So whereas human things are natural, they are more lovely, they're more positive. Inhuman is something which is contrary or opposite to the human values, like anything which is negative, depressing, disappointing is inhuman, right? So he says that in spite of having all those negativities around us, and around, being kind of surrounded with darkness, so there is, if there are beauty around us, then there is also darkness around us. And all these darkness, kind of try to push us into the state of depression, into the state of disappointment, in a state of negativity. But it is once again a human, inherent human tendency to keep on finding beauty, because then he says that of all the unhealthy and overdarkened ways made our searchings, yes, in spite of all. So he says that our searching, what is the searching? The searching is for finding meaning in the human existence. Why are we here? Why are we live? Why do we live at all? Why have we come on this planet at all? So that is what he says, that it is our searchings for finding meaning in the human existence that beauty gives us answer in it. And he says that there are so many beautiful things around us. For those beauties you must be living. right? He says that made for our searchings, yes, in spite of all, some shapes of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits. So there is this darkness within us. Okay, so there, if there is this darkness within us that pushes us into the negativity, then comes the beauty of the nature around us, within us, and around us, that helps us to push forward and motivate us to find meaning in our existence and give dimension to the inherent searching or to the primitive searching with which human beings have been obsessed with. And what are those things? What are those beautiful things? Look at, he gives the example in next lines and he says, such the sun, the moon, trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep, and such are daffodils with the green world they live in. I'm stopping here. So he says that, so what are those beautiful things? Of course, these are the natural elements, like there's sun, like there's moon, there are trees which are young and old, then there could be a sprouting of the shady moon, then there could be a simple sheep, just a sheep, a very simple example of innocence. What does sheep basically refer to? Or if you look at a little small baby sheep, what are the feelings that arise in your heart, and you know that there's this feeling of innocence and love which you get when you see a small shape. So he says this is what are beauties. These are beautiful things around us. So there are sun, there are trees, there are moon, there are rivers, there are mountains, there are valleys, there are flowers, there is earth, there are animals like little sheep, and such are daffodils with the green world they live in. So daffodils is this white little flower which is very beautiful, and where it happens to be found, it is of course been found somewhere in the greeneries of, obviously. So it is like, trying to look beyond the physical nature of the beauty, and is trying to understand that each and every element around us in the nature is basically helping us to become more energetic and vibrant and to live life to its maximum of the potential, right? So all these things are really motivating, because if you look around you, these nature has made us such, or nature has created everything in such a great coherency, that there is a very the level of synchronization is really supreme, because you find that all these things which exist around you are basically to support the meaningfulness of the human existence, isn't it? So then he moves on, he says that there are clear rills that for themselves a cooling cow would make against the hot season. Right? So there are clear rills like there are small streams, small rivers, and that for themselves a cooling cow would make against the hot season. So hot season, these little streams of water will cool you down, will have a very soothing and a cooling effect against the hot season. So what is the hot season? It symbolizes once again the negative aspects or dehumanizing aspects of human life, or of existing itself, or of existence itself, right? So these little streams of water have such cooling effect that it will fight against the hot season, which is very dehumanizing, which is very ignoble again, and which is very demotivating. So hot season will refer again to the negativities. Okay, the mid forest break and rich with its sprinkling of fair musk rose bloom, right? So then he gives one more image from the forest, and he says that there this thick mass of ferns, which is like a flora and fauna. He's basically reference to the flora and fauna around us, and he's saying that which with a sprinkling of fair musk rose. So a fair musk rose, a beautiful flower, grows amidst the thorns, amidst the heavy bushy ferns, and when it blossoms, you look at the beauty and you can only admire it. The beauty of the rose, that musk rose. So it is not just the beauty, but it is also the bravery, which can very easily be understood by looking at that beautiful musk rose coming out of the thick, bushy, thorny ferns, like, right? So then, in the last 4 or 5 lines, now he is once again redefining the whole idea of beauty, and he says that, and such too is the grandeur of the dooms we have imagined for the mighty dead. All lovely tales that we have heard or read, an endless fountain of immortal drink, pouring unto us from the heaven spring. So now he redefines the idea of beauty. He says that yes, of course, there is beauty in the natural element. Yes, of course, there is beauty in the flora and fauna around us. But beauty is also there in the human heart. Because he says that there is this grandeur of the dome. All those people, all those brave people who have laid down their lives and sacrificed their lives just for the benefit, for the improvement of the human societies. All those mighty deeds, those heroes that we have talked about, we have heard their stories, all those legendary heroes which have been an inevitable and a very compulsory part of our culture, cultural background, all those heroes from the history who have, we have heard about uh, the immense strength that they have shown, the immense sacrifice that they have shown, the kind of devotion and commitment that they have shown for humanity is something which is also beautiful. So, from where does that commitment and the sacrifice emanate from? It emanates from human heart, and therefore, this braveness, this strength is also beautiful. And it says, such too is the grandeur of the doom, grandeur, this this magnificence, the magnificence of the strength that these heroes have shown in past, and we have imagined for the mighty dead, all those people now who are now dead, but they have shown such mightiness in their character. The character was so big, so large to be understood by us, and all the lovely stories that we have heard about them or we have read, they are, what are they? They are like inspiration to us, because this is strength. When we listen to their stories, they're like inspiration for us to propel us, to allow us, or to motivate us to move beyond the set boundaries of our petty thinking, maybe. So it is about reaching out, for the for reaching out beyond the limitations of humanity, and just breaking all the limits and reaching out to the highest of the potential that could actually be acquired by any human being. Just look at the last two lines of the poem. Here he says, an endless fountain of immortal drink pouring onto us from the heaven spring. So all these stories about the mighty dead, about the heroes of our culture, and about the history that we have been hearing about, they are like an inspiration to us, to the present generation people. And how is this inspiration is like, now he's comparing it with a kind of a nectar of life, or like an elixir of life, which is, pouring onto the human beings from the heaven itself. It's like we're just looking up towards the heaven, and the heaven is just, pouring onto us all these inspiration, like as if some kind of amrit, or some kind of some kind of nectar of life has been poured upon us. This is how the inspiration of all these mighty heroes has been like. So this inspiration of bravery, of strength, of commitment, of devotion, of sincerity, of always thinking best for the humanity, is something that makes us different from other species on this earth. Now, when you look at the poem in totality, you understand that he is, of course, talking about the concept of beauty as I begin, and he is also setting out a kind of background for a hero, Endymion. Of course, the hero of this particular poem is Endymion, who has to cross the mortal limitations of his life. He has to meet his lover, Cynthia, the moon goddess, who is up there in the sky, but for that he has to move beyond the human limitations. He has to kind of transcend his human limitations. This is beautiful now about human being, this spirit of always moving beyond the limits. It is this spirit, this compulsion, this the compulsion, this desire of always trying to reach out to the maximum potential, is something that is something that makes us special probably on this planet. Maybe this is a very pompous statement, but this is what Keats seems to be saying. He says that human beings are endowed with that kind of innate desire of moving beyond their limits. So Endymion also has to now move beyond his limits. He has to move beyond the mortality, his mortality, and he also has to, transcend and the human limitations in order to meet his lover, right? So this is how we all are capable of showing bravery, strength, and we all are quite capable of transcending our limitations. Like, so this is what the poem is about. It is about beautiful things. It's about the nature of beauty. It is about the role that beauty plays into our life. It is about the purpose that beauty has in our life. It is about beauty is not just external, it is internal. Beauty is not, of course it is there in natural elements, but it is also in the invincible spirit that is exhibited by human beings. So I hope you read this poem and you enjoy this poem whenever you read it, because there are multiple layers of meaning that one can actually draw according to the interest you have in English literature and any literature. So I just wish you all the very best with reading of the poem. But there is one thing that I would highly recommend, is that do read the poem from the textbook. Do not just go after the secondary material available on variety of internet sites, right? And then try to come up with your own ideas. So I hope this video will help you out in framing your opinions about beauty, about Keats' idea of beauty. And if you still have any problems, you are free to get in touch with me through posing your questions in the comment sections below. I will be more than happy to receive your questions and to answer them. So I'll very soon meet you with yet another video, but till then, keep reading, keep learning. Thank you.